Imagine your perfect marriage falling apart when your husband's dark secret is exposed. Kendra, a social media influencer, uncovered Mitchell's affair with his uncle, broadcasting the shocking truth to millions, only for it to lead to her death. This tragic story shows how betrayal, fame, and lies can spiral out of control. Before we delve into this story, make sure to like and subscribe to Crime Chronicles for more chilling stories. Kendra and Mitchell had become the epitome of a fairy tale couple. At 26, Kendra had already built an empire as a social media influencer, captivating millions with her curated lifestyle. Every post was meticulously designed, showing her lavish life with Mitchell, 29, her seemingly perfect husband. From romantic dinners to surprise gifts, Kendra's followers were enthralled by what appeared to be a flawless relationship. Kendra often posted about their milestones, anniversaries, trips, and moments of affection, each image a reflection of the love she believed was real. Mitchell, with his charming smile and attentive gestures, played the role of the perfect husband. His Instagram was filled with pictures of him surprising Kendra with extravagant gifts, heartfelt messages, and affectionate moments. He showed up to all her events, shared loving captions, and seemed to have no flaws, at least in the public eye. He'd shower Kendra with the material comforts she craved, and in return, he basked in the admiration of their social media following. But behind closed doors, the truth was far darker. Mitchell had been living a double life, one that Kendra was blissfully unaware of. Mitchell's relationship with his uncle, Marcus, was something Kendra had never suspected. They had grown up together, with Marcus playing a father-like role in Mitchell's life. However, as Mitchell became an adult, his uncle's influence grew darker, morphing into a secret, illicit affair that stretched on even after Mitchell married Kendra. The secret bond between the two men was hidden from everyone, including Kendra, who was so focused on her influencer life and public image that she never noticed the signs. As Kendra continued to showcase her perfect life, the cracks in Mitchell's facade deepened. The growing tension between his secret affair and his public image would soon collide, but for now, everything seemed picture-perfect in the eyes of the world. Kendra had always prided herself on her flawless social media presence. Every moment of her life seemed carefully planned and executed for her millions of followers. She posted about her trips, her designer outfits, and most importantly, her marriage with Mitchell. To the world, it appeared perfect, full of love, luxury, and unbreakable connection. Mitchell, a loving and attentive husband, always showered her with gifts and adoration, and Kendra made sure to showcase it all for the world to admire. But behind closed doors, Mitchell had been hiding a dangerous secret. One that Kendra would uncover in the most shocking way. It all began on a quiet evening, during a casual scroll through Mitchell's phone. Kendra and Mitchell had been married for 3 years now, and their marriage has been going smoothly, or so she thought. She wanted to post a picture of the both of them on Instagram as it was their 3rd marriage anniversary, and was now looking through his camera roll for a picture to share with her followers. As she unlocked his phone to grab a selfie they had taken earlier, something caught her eye. There was a text message from Marcus, Mitchell's uncle. At first, Kendra thought it was harmless, but the more she read, the more her heart sank. The messages were explicit, filled with flirtations and sexual innuendos. What started as innocent exchanges quickly escalated into full-blown confessions of passion. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled through message after message, piecing together an affair that had been going on for months. There were plans to meet up, intimate words that no husband should share with anyone but his wife. Kendra's world, the one she had so carefully curated for public eyes, shattered with each swipe of her finger. For a moment, Kendra was paralyzed. She sat there staring at the screen, trying to process the weight of the betrayal. This wasn't just infidelity, it was incest. Mitchell, the man she had married and built her life around, had been having an affair with his own uncle. The betrayal cut deeper than any wound she could have imagined. She could feel the anger rise in her chest, a fury that threatened to consume her. But as the anger surged, so did a desire for control, for power, something Kendra had always craved. Rather than confronting Mitchell directly, Kendra made a snap decision that would change everything. She would expose the truth to the world. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about taking back control. She had built her career on her followers' admiration and validation, and now, they would see the truth. Without a second thought, she took a screenshot of the most incriminating messages and posted them to her Instagram story, captioning it, "This is the truth. The man I've loved and married has been lying to me with his uncle. Here's the proof." Her fingers hovered over the post button for a second, but then she hit send. The moment she did, her life, as well as Mitchell's, began to spiral out of control. The post went viral within seconds. Her followers flooded the comments section with reactions ranging from shock to outrage. Friends, family, and even strangers who had once admired her marriage now saw her for what she was, a woman betrayed by the one person she trusted most. Some praised her bravery for exposing the truth, while others expressed their sympathy and anger toward Mitchell. The phone calls started immediately. First came the text messages, then the calls from friends and family who had seen the post. Mitchell's phone began to vibrate incessantly with notifications, but he didn't check it right away. He was in the middle of a meeting, oblivious to the storm brewing on the other side of the screen. As Kendra's post reached its peak, Mitchell's face turned pale when he finally saw what had happened. His phone lit up with notifications from relatives, friends, and colleagues, all of them pointing him to the post. Kendra had exposed him. There was no turning back now. Mitchell's anger was palpable as he stormed into the living room, where Kendra sat on the couch, her phone in her hand. His heart raced with fury, a cocktail of rage and disbelief coursing through him as he saw her, sitting there so calmly. Her face, usually so composed, now held a look of cold determination, her eyes locked on him. "Kendra." Mitchell's voice cracked with venom as he approached her. "What the hell is this? You've ruined everything. You aired our private mess to the entire world." Kendra didn't flinch. She wasn't afraid. She'd had enough. Mitchell's mask of the perfect husband had been shattered, and now the world was going to see him for what he really was. She looked up at him, her face twisted in disgust and betrayal. But she wasn't going to let him control the narrative anymore. She had a following, a platform, and she was going to use it. Without a word, Kendra's fingers swiftly tapped her phone, her thumb effortlessly hitting the "Go Live" button. She didn't need to confront him with words anymore, she wanted everyone to see the truth. She began to speak, her voice calm but filled with a sense of vindication. "Mitchell has been lying to me, lying to all of you," Kendra said, her eyes flicking back and forth between him and her phone. "He's been living a double life, and now it's all out in the open. The world is going to see who you really are." Mitchell didn't notice. His fury was so blinding that he couldn't see the subtle movements of her fingers. All he could focus on was Kendra's betrayal, her exposing of their private lives. His chest heaved with anger as he stepped closer, now inches away from her. "You think you're in control?" he spat, his voice rising with every word. "You think you can destroy everything we've built because of your damn pride?" He grabbed her by the wrist, yanking her from the couch. "You've ruined my life, Kendra. You've humiliated me in front of everyone. I don't deserve this." Kendra stood her ground, her grip tightening on the phone. "I'm exposing the truth, Mitchell. For once, everyone will see what I've had to put up with. You've been lying, cheating, hiding everything. You made me feel like I was crazy, but I'm not crazy. You are." Her voice didn't shake. She wasn't afraid. She had the power, and she was taking it back. Meanwhile, Mitchell continued to rage, not understanding the full extent of what was happening. He was too consumed by his anger to notice the growing flood of comments filling the live stream. Thousands of Kendra's followers, curious and shocked, had jumped into the broadcast, witnessing this confrontation live. "Stop this now!" Mitchell shouted, his face red with fury. "You think I'm going to let you ruin me like this? Do you think the whole world cares about your drama? You're the one making a fool out of us." But Kendra wasn't backing down. She had a message, and now she had an audience. Her heart pounded in her chest, but she wasn't scared. She wanted everyone to hear him, to see his true colors. As Mitchell continued to berate her, the comments on the live stream poured in faster than Kendra could keep up. Some viewers were outraged at what Mitchell had done, while others were shocked by how far things had escalated. Many of them were begging Kendra to stop, urging her to walk away, to stop provoking him. But it was too late for that. Kendra knew she couldn't take back what she had started, and she wasn't going to. "People need to know the truth, Mitchell," she said, her voice unwavering. "They need to know what you've been hiding from everyone. You think I'm the one ruining things? Look at yourself." But as the words left her lips, Mitchell's rage escalated, and without another word, he lunged at her. His hands grabbed her by the throat, his fingers tightening with brutal force. Kendra gasped, trying to break free, but it was too late. Her phone clattered to the ground, still live streaming, still capturing every horrifying second. "Stop, Mitchell." Kendra's voice was weak, her hand struggling to pry his fingers from her neck. "Stop, please." Kendra's world had begun to close in around her as Mitchell's grip tightened on her throat. The once bustling apartment, filled with the noise of a million followers watching her every move, had grown eerily quiet, save for the rapid, shallow gasps of air Kendra managed to force out. She clawed at his hands, desperate for breath, her fingers scraping against his skin, but it was futile. The strength she had once carried in her defiance was fading quickly. As the seconds dragged on, her vision blurred, but her mind remained alert, consumed by the realization that this was it. Mitchell's violent rage was consuming her, and the phone she had so carefully positioned in front of her was still broadcasting the unimaginable reality unfolding before her millions of viewers. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat slower and more erratic. The world around her had become a disjointed blur of flashing lights, the frantic comments flooding her live stream, and the sensation of her breath slowly slipping away. The notifications on the screen were an endless stream of panic and concern, the comments filled with pleas for Mitchell to stop, calls for help, and frantic messages warning others to call the police. Some of her followers, in a state of disbelief and horror, were already calling 911, urging them to act fast. It didn't take long before the authorities were alerted, but by the time help could arrive, the damage was done. Mitchell, still blinded by anger, had no idea how much time had passed. In his mind, the world had shifted into a blur of guilt, shame, and fury. He had never intended for it to go this far, never imagined that his actions would lead to the death of the woman he had once claimed to love. But as Kendra's body went limp in his arms, his rage had finally found its tragic release. The man who had always pretended to be a caring husband, the man who had carefully curated their perfect life for the world to see, had just taken it all away. Seconds passed, maybe minutes, but it felt like an eternity. He stood over Kendra's lifeless body, his breath coming in short, shallow bursts, trying to make sense of what he had just done. He looked down at her face, the same face that had always been there, smiling at him through the lens of their lives, now frozen in time. Her phone, still live, lay on the ground beside her, silent but forever capturing the moment. The door to their apartment suddenly crashed open. Police officers and paramedics stormed into the room, drawn by the urgency of the 911 calls and the real-time distress being broadcast. They quickly assessed the scene, their faces hardening with grim recognition. Kendra's body was lying on the floor, her limbs twisted awkwardly beneath her, eyes wide open in an expression of horror. The officers immediately rushed to her side, checking for a pulse, but there was nothing. Her body had gone cold. Mitchell stood frozen, his chest rising and falling rapidly, his face pale and empty. He couldn't bring himself to look away from Kendra's still form, as if somehow hoping that by keeping his gaze locked there, the nightmare would end. But it didn't. The weight of his actions settled on him like an unbearable burden, the realization sinking in that everything had changed in an instant. One of the officers moved toward Mitchell, his voice low and commanding. "Step away from the body. Now." Mitchell blinked as if waking from a trance, his body suddenly aware of the police surrounding him. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He felt his knees weaken, but he didn't resist. They handcuffed him without hesitation, and he allowed it, still in a daze. He couldn't speak, couldn't offer an explanation, because deep down, he knew there was none. What had happened could not be undone. There was no justification for what he had just done. As Mitchell was led away from the scene, the paramedics began their work, attempting to resuscitate Kendra, but it was clear there was no hope. She was gone, her life snuffed out in the most brutal and public way. Outside the apartment, the sound of sirens echoed in the distance, but for Kendra, the world had already come to an end. The live stream, still running, had captured the entire tragedy. Thousands of viewers had watched the final, horrifying moments unfold in real time. The comments were flooded with disbelief, shock, and sorrow as her followers grappled with the gruesome reality they had witnessed. It wasn't just the murder that shocked them, it was the fact that they had seen it unfold before their very eyes, helpless to do anything but watch. Within moments, the live stream was taken down, but the damage was already done. The video had already spread like wildfire, clips of the confrontation and its aftermath circulating through the internet. News outlets, social media, and the public were left in a state of stunned disbelief. The perfect life Kendra had once so carefully curated had been ripped apart in an instant, and the man responsible for it was her own husband. Nothing could bring Kendra back, and the shockwaves of her death rippled through her fans, her family, and everyone who had ever believed in the flawless facade she had presented. The once glamorous influencer, who had used her fame to construct an image of perfection, had become a tragic victim of betrayal and violence. Mitchell's arrest for Kendra's murder sent shockwaves through the media, with the gruesome nature of the crime dominating the headlines. The police investigation quickly unraveled the dark truth behind Mitchell's marriage, exposing the affair with his uncle, Marcus, that had been hidden for years. Though Mitchell's relationship with Marcus was kept secret from Kendra, the affair had been a constant strain on their marriage, unbeknownst to Kendra, who had been living a life filled with false narratives, putting on a brave face for her social media followers. The shocking murder, broadcasted live to thousands of viewers, added an even darker twist to the already tragic situation. Kendra's millions of followers, who once admired her perfect life, were now left grappling with the heartbreaking reality of her death. The live-streamed footage of her final moments brought attention to the dangers of social media fame and how the pressure to maintain an image can be more destructive than anyone realizes. The trial that followed was highly publicized. Mitchell's defense tried to argue for a reduced sentence, citing his troubled upbringing and the stress caused by his secret relationship with Marcus, but the prosecution argued that none of it excused the brutal murder of his wife. The jury deliberated for hours before returning with a guilty verdict. As the investigation progressed, it became clear that Kendra's relationship with her followers had played a significant role in her death. Mitchell, in his anger and desire to control the narrative, had snapped in the most extreme way possible. Kendra's desire to live-stream their confrontation, to showcase her side of the story, had become her final fatal mistake. The footage, which went viral within minutes of the attack, would forever haunt her followers and the public. In some twisted way, Mitchell had given Kendra's followers a front-row seat to her death, inadvertently immortalizing her last moments on the internet. Kendra's fans, once loyal and adoring, now mourned the loss of the woman they thought they knew. But even in death, Kendra had exposed a harsh reality: the price of living a life for social media fame. As her death went viral, there was an outpouring of messages from her followers. Many expressed regret, claiming that they had unknowingly contributed to the facade Kendra had built, unknowingly pushing her into a world where the pressure of perfection was suffocating. The deep emotional pain Kendra had experienced, masked by her online persona, suddenly became all too real for those who had once idolized her. The trial was swift, as Mitchell pled guilty to the charges against him. His defense attorney argued that the emotional toll from years of hiding the affair and living a double life had pushed Mitchell over the edge, but the jury wasn't swayed. The brutal murder, especially one witnessed live by millions of people, left a stain on Mitchell's reputation that could never be erased. The details of the affair, the betrayal, and the violence became public knowledge, and the once respected husband was now nothing more than a villain in a tragic tale. Mitchell's sentencing was severe. He was handed a life sentence without the possibility of parole. The judge cited his premeditated actions, the murder of a woman who had trusted him, and the horrific nature of the crime. There was no sympathy for him in the courtroom. Kendra's family and friends had all witnessed the horrifying live stream, and they spoke in emotional testimony during the sentencing, describing the pain they felt for losing Kendra in such a horrific, public way. The judge's words echoed through the courtroom, a sobering reminder that Mitchell's actions had consequences far beyond his own life. He had destroyed a woman's life and shattered the image of the perfect marriage he had so carefully cultivated. The grief of Kendra's death lingered over the courtroom, and as Mitchell was led away in handcuffs, the public was left to reflect on the consequences of his actions. For Kendra's followers, the fallout was just beginning. The illusion of perfection had been shattered, revealing the dark underbelly of the influencer lifestyle, where fame, validation, and public perception could push even the most seemingly perfect relationships to their breaking point. In the end, Mitchell's actions were a tragic reminder of how easily the pursuit of fame and control can turn a relationship into something unrecognizable and deadly. This devastating tale is a chilling reminder of how secrets, lies, and the pursuit of perfection can unravel lives. Mitchell's double life and Kendra's need to expose the truth led to a tragic collision of betrayal and violence. It forces us to confront the dangers of living for appearances and how deception can destroy everything in its path. What would you have done in Kendra's shoes? Kept the secret for your own safety or exposed the truth no matter the cost? Don't miss more shocking stories like this. Subscribe to Crime Chronicles for the most gripping tales of betrayal, secrets, and the deadly consequences of broken trust.